But 2.7 million downloads is about 90,000 new players a day.
It's only a game. Why you have to be...
That I have not done in a while is discuss Hero Wars download numbers. I thought that I would chat about it today. Somebody brought it up to me this morning, and I hadn't looked in a while, and I thought I would go check it out. This is a screenshot for the March iOS, that's Apple downloads for Hero Wars, okay? March 2022. March 2022. This was right when the game basically lost most of its popularity because of the geopolitical nonsense, restructuring with Kismet and board members and all of that. 400,000 downloads, 7 million in revenue. 400,000, 7 million. Okay. Here is the Android sheet. 1 million downloads and 7 million in revenue. So that was, what did I say? So it's 1.4 million and 14 million. I'm going to write this down because I'm going to keep going back and forth. Now, the thing that we don't know, before anybody jumps into the comments about it, and I'm sure you guys already have, the thing that we don't know is, like, does this include updates? Does this include, like, unique downloads? Is this a bot downloading things over and over and over and over and over again? We don't really have that information. We don't know really. 1.4 million downloads in the month of March and 14 million in revenue for the month of March. Now, since then, they were delisted from the New York Stock Exchange, which is a big deal, right? Their popularity trashed. Some of their board had to resign or move around because of their affiliation with certain political figures, or they themselves were political figures. And Hero Wars has been clawing its way back. Of course, mobile games as a whole, the economy for mobile games as a whole has tanked pretty dramatically. And I'm not going to do it, but it would be interesting to look at like Raid Shadow Legends and the other 4 or 5 competitors to Hero Wars, see how they fared in a similar time frame. But I know that the general interest in mobile games like this, the free-to-play, the idle style games, I think that overall has declined pretty dramatically since the end of the pandemic, or the unofficial end of the pandemic. I guess it's still going in some parts of the world, without getting too much into it. So this was March 2022, and for comparison's sake, let's take a look at Hero Wars on Apple. Hero Wars on Apple last month, updated 4 days ago. So it's not a year over a year because last month was May. We looked at March from last year, and this is May. So it's not really a fair one-to-one comparison here. But the revenue is down $1 million that month, and the downloads per month for Apple is actually up by 300,000, right? So there are more new players, but less players overall are spending. More new players than there were about a year ago, but less players are spending. Okay, downloads last month, revenue last month, 6 million compared to 7 million on Apple last year. Let's see. Here we go. Here's the Russian version of the game. Russian version of the game is right here. You can see that here are the list of NextersGlobal Android games. And this is Hero Wars, you can tell by the artwork of Galahad. 2 million downloads and 5 million in revenue. So we have 2.7 million downloads and an overall revenue of 11 million compared to 14 million. So again, way more people are playing the game now, but they're definitely spending less. But Hero Wars is the main downloaded game from Nexters on iOS. From Nexters? Yeah, from Nexters. Yes. Price dropped too, right? So that is part of the reason. So I think that a big part of why the revenue is down is 2 reasons. First of all, Robert is absolutely right, but I think that is the second reason. The first reason I think people are spending less is obviously the economy isn't where it was a year ago. And, that includes things like disposable income spent on video games, Fortnite skins, battle passes for Call of Duty. I think all of that probably is down. I have no information about that. I think that if people were quitting the game in droves, but not being replaced by such a huge number of downloads every month, I don't know. And to Robert's point, everything is way less expensive now than it was a year ago. Everything across the board costs less. The packages cost less, the skins, the emeralds, everything costs less. So it is interesting that there in there somewhere the economy, the Russia-Ukraine thing, the inflation, the NASDAQ delisting, the paying off of their debt, the moving of the board members, the prices being dropped. It's interesting that they are still making over $10 million a month on this game. And as of last month, and again, I don't really know what a download means. I could probably dig into this website and find out what they count as a download. It could be bots downloading the game over and over and over and over again. But 2.7 million downloads is about 90,000 new players a day. 90,000 downloads per day. Hero Wars is getting 90,000 downloads per day on Hero Wars Mobile, Android, iOS, and it is worth noting that I'm not including the app gallery. I'm not including the Huawei app gallery in these numbers, which obviously accounts for a good chunk of their revenue. Huawei, the Chinese-based cell phone app store, all of that. Sensor Tower doesn't report on app gallery stuff, so we don't know that. We don't really know that. And I tried to Google it earlier, and I couldn't find anything good to look at. But you could consider potentially at least maybe half of those, maybe half the numbers, maybe a third of the numbers. If it's more than 10% of the Android and iOS combined, then they're getting over 100,000 downloads per day. 100,000 downloads of Hero Wars per day. And this is a third-party reporting website. This isn't NextersGlobal reporting these numbers. 100,000 people are downloading Hero Wars Mobile every day. And I say that to say this. Most of the people quit. High churn rate. I'm sure that their churn rate is through the roof. And churn meaning, somebody downloads the game, tries it for a day or two, and then never plays it again. I'm sure that their churn rate is ridiculous, especially once people realize that those mini games that are in the ads aren't actually in the game. But how many of those people that are churning are they're spending $2 or $5 before they leave, right? And I just don't really know what to make of it. I just don't know what to make of it. I thought for sure whenever I went and looked at Sensor Tower this morning that these numbers would be horrible to look at. Hero Wars Mobile is going very strong. Very strong. And I wouldn't be surprised if their revenue starts to go up. Especially with the economy not actually going into a recession. Which, if you believed it was, I got a bridge in Alaska to sell you. Titan skins are for mobile. Does download count reinstalls for those that have to reinstall as a troubleshooting measure? Topaz, I'm assuming that is part of it. But again, I don't really know what a download means. Because of the decline, there are many fake accounts inserted in Arena and Grand Arena and Facebook Web. They don't make a part of some guild, and in battle history, you can see the named one as question marks. Definitely count that. It could be that. Could be a lot of bots. A lot of bots artificially inflating the numbers for investors' sake or for any number of reasons. We don't really know. Now, unfortunately, transitioning away from Hero Wars Mobile for just a hot second, we don't know any information about Facebook or web or any of the browser variants in different languages on different platforms. We don't know any of those numbers. Sooner or later, Nexters will release a financial statement It's been since December 6th, 2022 that they released the financial and operational results. Excuse me. When we get that number, when we get that document, we'll take a look at it. We'll be able to compare Facebook and web players to mobile players. We'll be able to see the spending numbers, and based on the downloads versus the spending numbers versus the EBITDA and all of that stuff, we'll be able to make assumptions about Facebook and web player count. But until then, we cannot.